Hello and welcome back to Retfurb. So on today's video we've got another remote control car. So this is a Tamiya TA01 chassis. So I'm going to be showing the process of stripping it down, servicing it all and doing essential upgrades on it that most people will consider the main upgrades that need to be done on a TA01 chassis. So yeah, as you can see, I'm getting straight into it. I've got all the parts ready to go, so it's a case of swapping it all over. You can see there I'm just showing the wheels. So this originally was a TA01, which was the 190e Mercedes model, but when I bought it the shell was absolutely knackered and I couldn't find a direct replacement for the original shell. I found some, but it didn't have the same graphic type on it which I wanted, so I decided to go with something different and make it custom as well. So I'm actually going to be changing it to a 205 turbo 16 model car. And if you don't know what that is, that's an old 80s Group B rally car, quite a famous rally car. So yeah, look them up if you don't. So yeah, stripping it all down. I'll show the process, what's involved. I won't show everything as in depth. It might be sort of made a little bit quicker and skipping through some stuff, but I will show as much of the process as possible. It's quite a long video as it is, so I've tried to condense it down as much as possible. So the first thing I'm going to do is undo the front chassis parts, and then we'll get in and clean it all and then replace the parts that are necessary on that. So the main parts that are considered to be needing to be replaced on a TA01 are the outer hex nuts for the wheels. People recommend to go metal on those because they're plastic and apparently they swell. All the roller bearings, they'll all be replaced on the gearbox and hubs and everything like that. That's an essential upgrade. The prop shaft is going to be replaced. At the moment it's a thin, so almost like a wire type prop shaft in there, and that'll be replaced for a solid aluminium type. Now that slaps around quite a bit in the chassis, so that's an essential upgrade. The gearbox housing cover at the moment is plastic and that is recommended to be changed to metal, so I'm going to do that. Also, some of the gears and some of the cogs inside of the gearbox are metal at the moment, but they need to be replaced to plastic. The motor mount is going to be replaced to a metal type. It's originally plastic, so I'm going to be changing that to metal. I am also going to be changing the motor to an RS 540 Tamiya motor. Not that that's essential, but I'm going to be doing that at the same time. The speed controller is going to be changed. Now on these older Tamiya models they had a rather sort of rudimental controller, which was more of a mechanical sort of speed controller. They're not the greatest, particularly if your battery goes low. They just sort of lock in place and then the motor can fly off. So yeah, it's best to replace that. So I'm going to be replacing that with an electronic speed controller. So yeah, I think that is the main upgrades. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. There's a few bits that I'm going to be replacing which are not essential, like new wheels, but they're just to match the new shell that I'm putting on, and the tyres are just going to be slick tyres, so it's going to be almost like a tarmac spec. So yeah, that's the main upgrades that I would recommend, and from what I've seen online that seems to be like the common sort of theme of things that people change on these. Obviously you don't have to do it, you could just do the servicing. That's an essential thing that needs to be done, just making sure it's clean. This was quite a dirty model when I got into it. Had quite a lot of dirty grease and grime and stuff all around the parts that needed cleaning off. So yeah, it's the servicing is the main thing you need to keep up on and just make sure that everything's running smoothly. Yeah, so as you can see I'm sort of progressing through it, just replacing at the moment. You can see I'm just doing those roller bearings. So they're a massive improvement on the plastic bearings that are on there previously. Just making sure that I'm greasing them. So I'm using a Teflon based grease on this, which is okay with the plastic. I'm just going around with no toothbrush, just cleaning stuff off. So all I'm basically using for cleaning these parts I've just got some solvent-based degreaser, which is similar to what is used in vehicle body shops, just using an old brush and just rubbing it around, and a cloth to dry it off. Obviously, you know, you could use an ultrasonic cleaner with these. You wouldn't want to put any bearings in there because that wouldn't do it any good, but you could put these parts in an ultrasonic cleaner and it'd probably come up quite well. I do have one, but I just thought on this occasion I'll just clean it up as is. As I was sitting here, the only disadvantage obviously of the ultrasonic is you've got to strip everything down and put it all in there together, whereas I was trying to do this bit by bit so I knew exactly where it all went. I haven't done a hell of a lot of remote control cars in the past, so yeah, I wanted to make sure that I knew exactly where it went. I did have the original manual for this car as well, which, you know, is I could refer back to it, but I just thought it'd be easier if I do a section at a time and just rebuild it. There was a couple of little parts I had to modify on here. I think that might have been one of them. There was a screw that someone had put in there incorrect, so I had to sort of try and make the best out of what I had. I used a bit of blue thread lock on some of the parts because the threads they weren't great, but then they held in place with that. But the model wasn't in bad condition, to be fair. Overall, it was just minor stuff, which you expect. I mean, this is, I think, a 92-ish model, so it's quite a few years old now. Certainly considered like an older model for Tamiya, and the, you know, from what I've seen, obviously nowadays the way that the remote control cars have gone, they've progressed a lot more. So brushless motor is the way to go. Everything nowadays seems to be going to brushless. You do still get some brushed motors on stuff, but it tends to be the less expensive items, unless I'm wrong, but that's from what I've seen. So you can see that section's all rebuilt now, and just checked the suspension on it and it was all moving okay. So yeah, now moving on to the inside, and you can see the old speed controller here, which is the old mechanical speed controller, which is in the middle, which this servo is just connected to. So we're going to be replacing all of that. I had I've got another Tamiya Hotshot, a 1985 Hotshot, which has got the original speed controller in that, and I'm actually going to be doing a video on that. I'm rebuilding it. I bought that in condition from the original buyer. I had it new, which it wasn't bad condition. It's a bit beat up the shell, and he had upgraded some of the suspension parts on it. So it had dual suspension on the front, and upgraded on the back. So I've basically just restored it back to original. I put the all the original suspension back on, which he had. He had all the original boxes, everything for it, which was good. So I've put all that back on there. I've put all the original speed controller and everything back in it. And yeah, the point I was getting to after waffling on was that I've taken that out a bit a couple of times, and when the battery gets low, it sort of loses radio signal, and then all of a sudden you'll find the car just flies off somewhere because the speed controller will be stuck in a position. So that, yeah, it's not ideal, especially if you're near a road or something and it flies out in front of a car. That's why on this one I thought I'm going to just change it to electronic speed controller. At least then if it loses battery or it loses radio signal, it'll just cut off, which is a better way of doing it. Now with this one, when I do get to it, I lay the aerial down flat across the body, so it's across the chassis, so it's underneath the body, so it doesn't stick out and sort of ruin the look of the new shell that I put on here, which is a bit of a down point to that, is the fact that the radio signal's not that great, so you don't get very good range on it. Ideally you want to be sticking at the top, so you get the maximum range out of it, which you can obviously do, but I just didn't want to ruin the look, and when you get to the end of the video you'll see exactly what I mean. The car looks really good with the different shell on it, so I didn't want to really mess around with that look. So you can see with the process that I'm doing, I'm just trying to be methodical in doing it, doing a section at a time. It just helps when you do something like this, because if you strip it all down like I said before, and then you've got a load of random bits all over the side, it's a lot harder to try and work out where everything went. So you can see I'm just putting the plastic hex back on there, but later on in the video I'll change that like I said at the beginning. But yeah, I find it a lot better doing it this way. The same process for a lot of things really that I do. I try to just do a section at a time on stuff rather than just literally stripping everything down and then you're just finding that you've got loads of stuff everywhere and just makes it a lot harder. So yeah, that's the best process I think with this. And you can see I'm just carefully going over cleaning bits and pieces as I'm doing it, as I'm going along. So this is the metal housing that will be fitted afterwards, after it's all cleaned and put back together and all the parts are replaced that need to be replaced. And that's just another sort of essential upgrade that people recommend. So yeah, straight away as soon as you see inside this housing, you can see there's metal cogs and these need to be replaced. I think it's mainly due to them stripping with the metal inside, so the plastic ones are recommended, and this is the kit which will go in and replace it. So there's various cogs for the model. Now with this part you need to be careful because there's quite a lot of small little pieces in this, so you just need to keep an eye on where everything goes and make sure that when you put it all back together that it all goes in the correct place. Now a lot of this will be replaced by the plastic cogs that we looked at just a minute ago, so there's quite a few small little pieces that need to go in there to replace it. You can see it's quite grubby inside there, so after a good clean you can see it's a lot better. I'm just making sure that I've got the right bearings there to swap over, and then we can fit that new plastic cog. So now you can see that this is the plastic piece that replaces the other large metal piece that we took out of this part. Now this piece here is quite complicated. There's quite a few small little pieces that make this up. So we'll be replacing it all. There's some small little ball bearings that are in there. These need to be transferred over. So again, making sure they're in the right location. And then screw on this new metal gearbox housing. So again, same as what I said earlier, just doing bit by bit, section by section, and just making sure that, you know, you're putting everything in the correct location as you do it. Like I said before, there was a few screws that I found as I was putting things together that weren't quite gripping, so I just used a bit of blue Loctite, which helped in some of those screws, just so I could put them in where I didn't have to tighten them too tight and potentially cause issues. You can see there the blue Loctite I've been using, which held it really well, so that was fine. It's now starting to put the parts back on the chassis. So that's the bulk of the modifications done to the actual chassis and the cleaning and everything like that. Those were the hardest parts to do, and now it's most of it is sort of the easier jobs to do. I have to take this part back off the front section just so I can get this prop shaft adapter in, and the same goes for the rear. You have to do that as well. I didn't realise you had to do this before I fitted it together, but it was easy enough to just pop off and swap over. So yeah, the same goes for the back, and then you can slot the prop shaft in and they go in the specific end adapters. So this is recommended because the original one can slap around quite a lot in the chassis, whereas this is nice and rigid, so you won't have any issues. I had to trim a tiny little bit off of the actual main part of the chassis because it was rubbing a little bit. But you'll see that if you get that issue, and then you can just take off whatever you need. You may not need to do it. And now moving on to the motor mount. So this is the metal motor mount that I bought. So this will replace the plastic one that was on the old motor. So just give it more rigidity. And then just swapping over the cog. And then we can start getting the steering servo put back in. So with all this work that's been done on it, obviously the servicing will make a big difference. Not necessarily for performance, but just wear of the RC car. You know, if you leave dirt and grime and everything in all the cogs, it'll just make it wear quicker. So with that freshen up, it'll be a lot better. So yeah, you know, the Sport Tune motor should make a hell of a difference for sort of performance speed wise, and the electronic speed controller should help a hell of a lot. So yeah, I'm just doing a quick test now, making sure that everything's working all right, all the functions. Obviously it needs adjusting and things like that, but just making sure that it's running forward, backwards, and the steering's going left and right. Obviously you can see here I'm just tweaking on the controller because it was sort of spinning on its own because the adjustment for the bass adjustments were set incorrectly, so just messing around with that. But obviously I'll be doing more to it when it comes to actually running it properly. So yeah, everything's all okay. You can see the batteries in there, and I'm just mounting the speed controller now, just sticking that down with some double-sided foam tape and just making sure that all the cables are sort of held in place and not just flapping around in there, making sure they've got their own little location. And then again, I'm just going to stick this down and just make sure that, you know, it's not going to move around. And I've just mounted the aerial in place, but I do actually later on in the video adapt that so it's laid down flat rather than sticking up. As I said before, I didn't want to mess up the aesthetic of the shell. So yeah, I thought that was the best way of doing it. And I've just mounted a new switch, which I've just used again some double-sided tape on the side of the chassis rather than drilling any holes. And now I'm just getting the wheels ready. So these are all brand new Tamiya wheels and tyres. And at this point I still haven't changed those hex nuts, but I do get to that if you're wondering why I've said it and not actually done it. So this is the 205 Turbo 16 shell that I purchased. So this is from a seller on AliExpress, and yeah, it's really good actually, really good quality. The graphics looked good, but their sort of adhesive on them wasn't the best. I don't know how it compares to other sort of suppliers and genuine ones, but it wasn't brilliant. But they were okay. They stuck okay, but you could just tell they might have issues in the future. So I'm just going around just trimming the shell. Not going to show too much in depth of trimming it, but you can see I've gone around cutting all the arches, and I just went around with a little Dremel and just tidied it all up. And now I'm just going to mask the windows out, ready for painting. So if you didn't know already, on a Tamiya shell, you mask the inside of the windows and then you spray the inside of the shell. So you spray out the colour you want. So if you had multiple colours, for instance, you'd have to mask it out and make sure you don't sort of go over with, the colour on the wrong place. So you can see here now it's been painted white. It's had a lot of coats of paint, which I used the Tamiya white paint for that, just to give it a good coverage. And now I'm just peeling the masks off the windows. So you can see there all the masks for the windows off, and then it's got a clear, almost like cling film around the outside, so this protects it from any overspray. So that needs to be removed, and then as soon as you take that off, you have a nice gloss shell on it. Yeah, I was really impressed with how this came out actually. It's the first shell I've done, so yeah, I was really happy with it. So these are the decals, as I said. They've got everything there. It's pretty good. The spoiler is not actually shown on here as yet, but you'll see in a minute that I'll fit that, and that comes as 2 parts. So I just bonded that together and then just rubbed it all down and painted that black. So now you can see here I'm just replacing those hex nuts. So they've been replaced for the metal ones. So they're all upgraded, genuine Tamiya parts. So now the shell's all been decaled up or decaled up. And I've added a few little panel lines in there as well, just to make it look a bit better, a little bit plain without those panel lines. So you can see like the bonnet and the doors and where the section is for the rear of the roof. Now the rear wheels sat in a little bit, which did annoy me, but it wasn't too bad. And you can see there I've just done the mod for the cockpit as well, and I've put the spoiler and I've put some mud flaps on there, which I added myself. So yeah, really happy about that. It came out, it looked really good. And now this is the modification for the aerial. So I've just made a little 3D printed part that then I've mounted the aerial flat. Like I said before, it affects the sort of distance, the range that you can use it. So you may want to put it out through the roof if you were going to do a similar conversion. But for what I wanted on this car, it's ideal. So I'm just fitting those small little spoiler sections on the front bumper. I did try to make my own to begin with, but it didn't come out quite so well. So yeah, basically there now. So I'm going to take it out for a test and just show it running. Thanks for taking the time to watch the video. It's really appreciated. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.